Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Austin, Michael, and I are back for more Australian Survivor Week 1 of Brains vs. Brawn 2. And of course, we have our first guest for the recaps, Doug from Survivor UK 2023. And we've had him on for an interview before, and it's great to have you back, Doug.
Good to be back, man. I feel like I'm a nerd, so being back with my tribe, my spiritual tribe, and my real tribe is always nice. Thanks so much for having me back on, and so keen to get started because, good golly,
Yeah, that's a good 2 words to describe this season so far, 3 episodes in. So, I guess before we start the first episode, just initial impressions of these 3 episodes. What do you guys think?
I'd just like to firstly say, I'd just like to quickly say how much I'm so happy that Survivor Australia is back, personally. It's been so long since we had a season. Titans versus Rebels seems like an old school season. It's been that long since we had a new season. So I'm just so happy we're back. This is peak Survivor. The Australians do it best, and US needs to catch up. Sorry, go on, Austin.
All I was going to say is chaos, man. And he said it a few times in these episodes, but man, I like the US version of seasons where they're just chaotic and nobody knows what the hell's going on. So I'm loving this season start so far. I mean, guys are just coming out of the gray works trying to be villains for no reason. People are taking naps and not even social. I'm just like, dude, this is already just a screwy first 3 episodes. Holy gosh.
Yeah.
Man, it's just crazy. I just love Australian Survivor like you guys. It's just such great TV. It's so fun. And you see what everyone, even from the first promo where you have the slow motions, people walking through the water, everyone's just so pumped. And then when it comes in, you see JLP, you're like, this is just going to be awesome. And it did not fail to disappoint in these first few episodes. It was just so much fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just seeing JLP again, I feel like JLP has kind of taken the reins from Jeff Probst as the best host at this point. I don't know. Jeff has fallen off a little bit in the recent seasons, and JLP just keeps rising. So
Probst is gonna be
I feel like Jeff Probst is like a friendly robot. I don't believe him as a real human being.
Yeah.
Whereas JLP is salt of the earth guy.
Yes. All right. Well, so to kick this off, so I guess thoughts on the theme of Brains versus Brawn. Obviously, US has done it twice with Brains, Brawn, and Beauty in Cagayan and Coron, and then we had Brains versus Brawn of Australia season 6 with King George and Haley. So what do you guys think of the Brains versus Brawn theme and it being back again?
I like that Survivor US had Brains, Brawn, and Beauty, and then Survivor Australia just has Brains versus Brawn because just everyone in Australia is beautiful, so there's no need for that third tribe. They just cut that out completely. I think it's a really fun season. I think they fixed some mistakes as well from the first Brains versus Brawn, where the poor Brains tribe on the original season were just they were so outmatched by the Brawn tribe, whereas this is a bit more balanced. I feel like they've balanced the challenges a little bit more as well, where it's not just purely physical, they're split evenly across like muscle and strategic and challenges and puzzles. So yeah, I think they've honed it, and it's starting a lot stronger in terms of like balance.
I think it's why a lot of people like Survivor, because you do need the combination of brains and brawn to work your way through the game. And it's just so fascinating just watching, I think, just a group of either a group of brains and a group of brawn navigating the game. And they cling on to their sort of Brawn's will be Brawn's strong, and Brains they cling on to their sort of narrative and their stereotype. It's just great fun, you know. I always sort of think it'd be great to be. I think I'd want to be a Brain. I think it'd be quite good fun. I think it's just always a bit more interesting over there, and there's just, and I don't know. I think it's just a great theme for a season of Survivor, because it takes those raw elements of what makes Survivor so great, and sort of flashes it right in your face, jams it in your face from day one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Doug. Like, I feel like the Brains tribe seems to be more interesting every time they do this theme as well. Like, more interesting personalities, and like the people that do make it far from those tribes just end up being like huge parts of the season, like Spencer and Chaos Cass and Kagian, or like Aubrey and Koran, or obviously George and Haley. So, yeah, it's crazy how important like the brains are to every single season that they've done this.
Yeah, I think like with any theme, it's really cool when the contestants are like really bought into what their narrative is. Like the brains, you can tell like they want a brain to win, the bronze want a brawn to win. And I think it's gonna be really fun just theoretically with theme seasons when there's like a swap, because what's gonna happen, you know what I mean? Are brains gonna be more, reluctant to go with bronze, or are the bronze going to be more, supportive to get to merge with one another? I mean, I don't know. Themes are really fun for me because I like to see like how far are they going to take the narrative of being a brawn, or how far is a brain going to take the narrative of, oh, I'm going to play this game with, more of my mind than with these, you know what I mean? So it's going to be a fun one, because a revenge season also, I mean, it could go either way. I mean, we've seen it before. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they miss. But this cast, though, with this theme, I have a good feeling about it.
I agree completely. This cast
Totally.
is fire.
Chaotic fire.
So then we kick off into the reward challenge. So they have to use palm fronds to retrieve a key. And with the palm fronds, I believe the Brains tribe gives up at one point, and Max tries to throw the bag up to like get the key down, and it gets stuck, and it was just chaos, and it kind of shows immediately that the Brains tribe is going to be a disaster again. So.
Yeah. I think always the lashing together of bamboo and those sorts of, it kind of occurs quite a few times where you have to make a long pole, and they're always fun. There people sometimes just cannot get it. I don't know if you remember. I don't know, Michael, if you made it to when you auditioned for the UK season. If in the audition day we had to make a long pole, kind of using little tent pegs, and I sucked at it. I couldn't get it to work. But for some people, they just absolutely nail it. So I think I like seeing that. I like seeing that sort of recurring challenge theme in Survivor, just because it's not as easy as it looks. At all.
I get to dwell in this moment. You made it on the show, so you ultimately win, but I smashed that challenge.
Did you?
Because
we lost.
I did the tying together of the things, and I snapped one in half and used it as a hook.
Oh,
hooked it in, and then threw it away so the other tribe didn't see it. So that was a good moment for me. I was like, I'm definitely making it on this show.
Get this guy on the damn show. Jesus.
Yeah, that Michael deserves it. Yeah. I mean, just the fronds themselves, it's more refreshing than, every other season we've had them using like a pole or a stick or something. And like, I don't know, it's just like fronds are harder because they're more flimsy. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, Doug, you've dealt with palm fronds before on the island, so you know better than us.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting one. You always try and think with something like that. You always try to think how you can hack the challenge, and ultimately, I'm pretty sure the Bronze didn't even use the sandbags in the end. They just went on. I'm sure they went on somebody's shoulders.
Yeah.
They just didn't even bother with it. The throwing of the sandbag was stupid. I don't know. I don't know if he's just trying to break the entire thing. 'Cause I don't know. Imagine those sandbags seem pretty damn heavy, to be honest. Um, but no, it was a good one for the Brawn, to be honest. Interesting that they both start with fire.
Yeah.
Which is a real sort of is a different angle than what we're obviously used to.
Right.
But then again, I mean, what did you win? You won the flint to keep it going and a couple other goodies. I think the tarp is an absolute game changer. Things like a saw and an axe. So it was still a healthy reward, but you know, you get a huge advantage starting with fire and knowing the other tribe are so demoralized when they can't even eat. They can't even cook their rice. So that was interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm curious that we had a kind of an odd reaction to them doing that because it is strange to give both tribes fire. Do we think maybe that's the reason why we got this really fast-paced, chaotic start? Because when they got the tribe, they weren't having to, do what you would normally have to do when you first get to a tribe. They've already got their fire, so now they can just run around like absolute maniacs, finding idols within minutes.
Yeah, I think that's a very high
Yeah.
possibility because you don't have to use up energy or time doing that stuff. So
So I guess it worked out.
Yeah. And you can, I mean, there's some instances where tribes can go like over a week without fire sometimes, if they manage to keep winning their immunities and don't get to tribal to get their flint, these guys can be really struggling for a long time. Um, so yeah, that is a game change. It's a welcome change, It's a welcome change to see how it works and see how it tests in the survivor sphere, I guess. But you could well be right. It could well have contributed to such a frantic sort of boss straight out the cannons.
yeah, I feel like there's been like I think US Survivor has done it before where they don't give them fire at all at the start. I think like I've just been rewatching the older seasons. So like Survivor Marquesas, I think like a big twist of that season in the beginning was like, okay, we're not giving you any help on fire whatsoever at the beginning. It was like, okay, it's interesting to compare this to how US Survivor used to be.
Yeah, there was one where it was an Australian Survivor season. It might even have been All Stars, where the winner won their full camp completely built. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, All Stars.
That was. I mean, that's enormous.
Yeah.
That's enormous. Can be quite detrimental to some people's games who want to just show their show their worth to the tribe just by building the thing. That takes that completely out of the game. So it was a bit of a game changer. It does force the game to kick into gear pretty early on if you're not building your shelter or making fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Austin, any thoughts on the reward challenge mayhem?
Not really. I thought it was funny though that because Max screwed it all up, that was like Kent's like diabolical plan to, retaliate, burn his hat, and then like be cool about it afterwards. I was like, Jesus Christ, all Max did was just F up a little bit, like, and now you got to burn the poor man's hat as retaliation.
We will get to that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's first head over to the Brawn tribe. They do win the reward challenge. They win flint and a construction kit. And we get to the Brawn camp. And I want to get your guys' take on the dynamics and Nash finding the idol 5 minutes in and flaunting it at camp. So what would you guys do in this situation? What do you guys think of Brawn's dynamics?
Honestly, Doug, you found an idol on Survivor, so how do you feel about, Nash finding it
Man,
so quickly? Like, how difficult is it? And he did it so quick.
dude, it's crazy. I mean, you must, because for these contestants, they've been dreaming about this for years, thinking about how their first few days are going to go, what they're going to do. If they find an idol, how will they play this? And fair play to Nash, he managed to find one. I think he did initially find it without anyone seeing. And I've been thinking about it quite a lot, guys. I can't understand the decision at all. At all. I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything at all that would justify doing that. It's sort of you have these sort of cardinal sins, I guess, that you just wouldn't do in Survivor, but it's going in and flaunting it straight away to immediately put this because they're going to have to flush it.
Yeah,
they're going to have to flush it. Votes are coming your way for nothing. You've squandered something which could have helped you immensely in the early game, and you flipped it its head.
right.
I mean, you're making your tribe so uncomfortable that they have to play far earlier than they think they're going to have to. And this is a Brawn tribe as well, so I imagine, not being stereotypical, but I imagine a lot of the Brawn tribe might not be as strategic as a lot of the folk in the Brains tribe. So this will really panic them more than they need to, and you're just going to get votes in yourself. I can't think of any reason why Nash did that. Interested to hear your thoughts, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my only thought was maybe he wanted chaos immediately. I mean, I know some people have weird mindsets of like, I am so good under stress and I love to be in the flame of things. So, I mean, like, if that was Nash's goal, I mean, he pretty much succeeded, but what's the long term, about that? Like, you're just going to piss people off, you stress people out for no reason. Are these people that you just scared going to want to work with you next tribal? I mean, there's so many like penalties that could come out of players or people in general that like to play like quick and fast and fiery. Like me, for example, when I go with my life, because I work with athletes and like I take the genuine steps of like, hey guys, this is like step 1, 2, 3. Let me build the relationship with you. Let's, you know what I mean? Nash kind of went, hey, I'm not even going to build a relationship with you. Hey, if you want to join my team, we're going to do this and blah, you know what I mean? So I don't know. He definitely took like that step that I would have never done. I felt like he tried it with Zen where he was like, oh, hey, look at my idol. And then he probably had the thought of like, oh, screw it. I'm just going to walk in with it and be, showboat. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it almost backfired on him completely. I mean, like they almost just got rid of Ursula and we're like, whatever. Like I almost thought that's what was gonna happen, but I mean, obviously it didn't work out like that. And yeah, I don't know. It was just a weird strat. You don't usually see that, especially day one. You know what I mean? So
No, I wonder if the emotions of the game and you've got there and you've got off to the best possible start you could ever dreamed of. If you're a huge fan and you find this, I wonder if the raw emotion of finding this idol that you've thought about for potentially years just got to your common sense, I guess, your logical thinking. And you just wanted to make a huge bold statement for the cameras and just for everybody. I mean, a lot of Survivor is mastering your emotions and thinking clearly. I just think it wasn't evident in this situation.
He could definitely be bold with idols, like, and he could use that one-on-one, like build relationships. It's still risky, but like showing that trust of like I found an idol with one person or a couple of people, like maybe if you want to do it like that, that's something that could get you allies. But there's no way for this to have worked out for him. Like Doug said, it just guarantees that they are going to flush it. It guarantees you have to play the idol at the first tribal council. So coming out of your first tribal council, you're absolutely screwed because he doesn't come out with any allies, really. They split the vote. I don't think anyone's truly with him. Certain people voted on his side purely because they were scared of him staying in the game and what was going to happen, which we're going to get to. I wasn't happy with. I lost one of my picks. But there was just no good outcome for this. It's just madness. Production probably loved it. It's the best possible start you could have to a season of Survivor. But for Nash as a player trying to win the game, he's almost guaranteed he's not going to. Yeah. And I'll eat my words if he does, because actually I've got him picked, so I hope he does. But I just don't see how he makes it past. I'm surprised he made it past the first week. They didn't go to another tribal. If he makes it past week 2, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I think also I couldn't believe he just didn't pocket it and like go like, ooh, I can use this if something messy happens in pre-merge or I get a stupid swap and I am screwed, like now I can, you know what I mean? I don't know how those thoughts didn't come to his head. He just wanted to walk right in there and be like, "Hey, guys," and he like wanted them to know too. He stood there like this, like an angry guy. He's like, "Nobody notices my idol," you know what I mean? So,
And then and a couple other things. He showed the other tribe that an idol.
Yeah.
The entire game knows there's an idol then.
Right.
And I think, and because the tribes are so large, there's 12 votes in total. The other remaining 11 can do all sorts of stuff
right
with this knowledge. They can do any sort of block to split up. You know, you could go into three different people as he did. You know, there's just not a lot of leverage in doing that at all.
Yeah, I would definitely not have gone around and flaunted it. Reminds me of the first Brains versus Brawn, I believe. A few rounds in, King George did do that as well. He walked in with an idol, and it ended up being the same thing as they flushed his idol and got rid of Dr. Mitch. So,
the only difference is George was in trouble at that point. Like he was being discussed.
Yeah.
Like at least it was still kind of bold, but he was someone that was in the discussions of a possible vote. This is before they haven't even introduced themselves to each other yet. Like Nash hasn't even had a conversation with these people.
George did it like 11 days in, and Nash is doing it day one.
11 minutes in.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the challenge, once we get to that, but that was just extremely stupid to show it to 12 people that you're not even on a tribe with. So, I don't think if he makes it to a swap, I don't think Nash is getting any trust from anybody.
everyone keeps commenting on him too at these immunities and challenges, like, "Oh, look at Nash. Oh, why is Nash here?" Blah blah blah. Yeah. I'm like, he's definitely painted in their heads by now. Like,
right.
Yeah, very strange tactic. We'll see if it works out for him.
Yeah, the only thing that could maybe work for him is because he's maybe set himself up to be quite an easy vote. So it could be used as, I guess, a decoy and to bolt onto other plans that are in motion. You know, as the game goes on, other rivalries, other feuds will develop. That might supersede this chaotic day one for him. That could maybe work for him, but I think it's a bit of a long shot.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that happens at the Brawn camp. I'm sure we'll get to the other dynamics as we get through the first episode. But then we go to the Brains tribe, and we get to see our witch, Laura. She creates the Witches Coven. And so it's 5 of the 6 women, basically everybody except Indy. And as we'll see is going to cause something in the next episode. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on Laura and the Witches Coven?
Yeah, do you know, I have 3 names written down here who are sort of my front runners for the first 3 episodes, and she's one of them. Do you know what? It's funny seeing her bio before the show started. I was thinking maybe like a kind of kooky character, doesn't really know what's going on, but clearly has studied the game quite well, understands how it goes on. You know, I was thinking, you know, witch, spiritual thing, people can definitely rub the wrong way of that, you know, kind of flashbacks to potentially Rogue from Heroes versus Villains, where just socially you're not quite there and you rub people up the wrong way, up the real wrong way. But no, she's done really well. No, I'm really, really impressed with how she's been playing the game. And she's doing what she has to do, getting that sort of core 4, core 3. I know that all you need then is you bolt on to another double or a triple, and then you've got the majority just there, doing great work, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say when we did our draft, that was my biggest thing with her. I was like, is she gonna be cuckoo? And is everyone just gonna be like, please get off the island, you're nuts.
Yeah,
you're a young 25-year-old witch. Like, what the heck? But I mean, you're right though too, because I think I read in her bio she like has stuff in her backyard she practices with for Survivor and stuff, and I'm like, now watching her, I'm like, okay, she's actually like damn good. Like she actually has the brain for the game, and I'm excited to see her because I can tell you one thing, when we were going into like the draft, I was like, she's probably the least person I'm like caring about, but yeah, I'm excited for her now. Like that whole group too, I love it. Like women alliances, I feel like don't usually like last that long right off the gate, but like if if they can stay strong on, especially on this tribe, I feel like the guys on this tribe are like down here compared to the girls. So like strategy wise, so like I feel like they could definitely like take a leg up if things go well, for the next steps, like week 2, if things go well for them. I can see it working out well for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I when we were doing the draft, I said in there like I need to see Laura's strategic sense and how she's going to play strategically, and then she impressed me, like blew us all away in the episodes, and I'm just like, okay, so Laura knows the game better than we thought going in, and I was pretty happy with how she did in these episodes.
Yeah, we did the draft, and I picked Laura as a joke just because I wanted to make jokes about witches. And I don't know if you know this, Doug, but over the course of the 3 episodes, I've had 2 of my players from the draft eliminated, and I've had 1 medevac. So it's not going well for me, but at least I've got Laura. She was my joke pick, and honestly, I think she's the standout player of the season so far.
Yeah.
Like, she's so good. And I just didn't see that coming from her. Like, she's legitimately a really, really strong and not emotional at all player. Like, when Logan is freaking out emotionally down the line, like, sorry, I've just forgot her name. Laura.
Laura, yeah.
Laura. Sorry. Laura is like very measured and she doesn't play with emotion. She's like, we can't do that right now because it's going to negatively affect us. So I think she has real potential to go really, really far in the game and maybe even win it.
I like that they kind of individualize everyone through the first 2 episodes, like the women, like they all get kind of their own like segments, because to me as a viewer, I appreciate knowing the alliance early on, like who's thinking about what, because you start to figure out like, oh, AJ's the poker guy, right? He like thinks who's the AI chick? Is that Allie?
Yeah, that's
he wants to like work with her. He thinks she's on the bottom, and you kind of learn you're starting to learn the dynamics. Like the guys think Logan's the head of the monster. You know what I mean? Like, and that's all episode 2. But what I'm trying to get to is like it's nice to see like for this whole first week how this group of 5 kind of is trying to play the game, and that's what makes me think that they're going to do at least decent throughout this first part of the game, because why are we learning so much about all of them? You know what I mean? Especially episode 2. I liked how we'll get to that part, but I'll save my opinion for when we get there. But I like how it's starting is what I'm getting at.
Agreed. So after that, we then get the scene at night of Kent deciding to throw Max's hat in the fire. Oh my God, I was shocked. You can watch the reaction short from us for that episode, and we're all just like, what is actually happening?
So good. Just what is happening? That's so funny. This guy, I don't know if it was the later episode where he was talking about he dreamed of being Survivor for 10 years, applied every year. This is his sort of dream. Again, just what are you thinking? Why are you doing this? Why? And then why? We'll get into the next bit, the whole conclusion of that story. But
yeah,
great TV. But again, can't see it really helping your game at all. Really, depending all on poor Miles as well. There's low blows and there's low blows in Survivor. There's got to be some gamemanship to the way you play for your own sanity. Max was really attached to that hat. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure in the very first challenge, JLP commented on it, and he was just so proud of it and stuff. And low blow.
Yeah, I was expecting to see that hat throughout the season, and it's just like it's gone immediately. And I'm just like, wow, Max just lost like something that's part of him, really. And
did he study Simon Mee's game when I'm pretty sure he burnt George's hat?
Yeah.
Was that the master plan? Was that like the whole thing? I just don't know. It's just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's just shocking. Austin, Michael, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying this when we were watching it. That's like sometimes when you make like money like Kent does, you almost get like a different mindset sometimes. Like what was he thinking in that moment? Like, does he think this entire 3 episodes, I've been at the top of the food chain my whole life, and people have commanded for what I say and what I do. I'm gonna do what I want. Like all these type of like mindsets, whereas like you're playing a game with a bunch of different, people from different lifestyles. Like you can't jump into it like you're at a business meeting where you think we put your foot down and I'm gonna do what I want, and I'll buy him, like for example, I'll buy him a hat after this. I'm gonna do it for fun. You know what I mean? Like shit like that will piss people off. I mean, like was it season 21 in US? Like was it Holly who like put all that sand in
Dan's
and like
shoes.
tossed it in the water? Like I don't know how she got out of that, honestly, but I mean, I would have been livid if someone like destroyed like something I brought with me out there and like I was attached to. So like I felt for Max because like
Yeah.
he instantly didn't want Kent there anymore, especially when he calls himself out at the first tribal. I mean, like
Get to that.
that's like something I would never admit to if I'm gonna do it.
No, it was extremely stupid. We'll get to that as well, but yeah, I just don't understand it. And then poor Miles gets blamed for it. I have thoughts on Miles. I thought Miles would be a little bit different than what he ended up being. But like the fact that he just is running around instantly and we seem like over strategizing with everybody on like day 1 or 2. Like, Miles, buddy, what do you do?
He's a very excited, introverted, like gamer guy. He's just that's gonna be a tough one to relate with.
Yeah.
Going back to the hat burning.
Yeah.
Now, this is like you've got 12 people in the camp and you've built the bed's never big enough. You're always jammed together.
Mhm.
And even getting up out of your bed, you're waking people up. There's people who just don't sleep at night. I hardly slept at night when I was doing my season, so I was always kind of aware of what was going on. You're running the huge risk of somebody just seeing you do it. If you move in that cramped bed, you're going to wake 2, potentially 3 people up anyway. Just make creaking bamboo and everything like that. The risk is so high, and the reward doesn't seem it seems so minimal.
Right.
Yeah, he manages to maybe get the target onto someone that isn't him, but like there's plenty of other ways to do that. I do think, like Austin said, it's kind of like an out of touch millionaire thing of just not really being able to make social connections and just doing what he wants. He does do a classic Survivor Australia thing and gives himself a nickname of the Komodo Dragon. Survivor Australia does love their nicknames, but they're often best when they're given to you by others, maybe, but he goes for it.
He has the 2 names. He has, Komodo Dragon and Praying Mantis. Which is unusual that you get 2 nicknames, but
it's just wild.
All right, so then we get to the immunity challenge, and this is one where they have to carry the coconut snake and they have to open the gate and then solve the puzzle. And we talked about it already. Nash flaunts the idol in the challenge. And then Nash also sucks in the challenge and ends up like tripping over the gate and decides to just stand there while Noonan does the puzzle. So yeah, basically Brains win immunity off that. But what are your thoughts on Nash's challenge performance and everything that went down there?
What you throw it?
He might have.
Maybe he did. I quite like how we always see Nash topless every challenge as well, like, which is just a sight for sore eyes, to be honest. But yeah, he wasn't great at puzzles. I think that would have been a huge bit of redemption for him if he nailed puzzles. Then that would have really put pressure on his own tribe to keep him around. Because traditionally, when you think of Brawn, you think that the puzzles they'd probably suck at, and Noonan was pretty good at puzzles, to be fair. But yeah, it just went from bad to worse after seeing that,
I wonder if he didn't want to go through like the physical aspect of the challenge, because there was,
potentially.
I actually really liked the theme of that whole challenge. They put Brains and Brawn together quite well there, especially with like that huge coconut snake and just, grinding it out through the obstacle. And then right at the end, you have to build a puzzle after they didn't have to do it. Thankfully, it was the 2s. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that he just completely sucked at it. And my theory is that he didn't technically throw it. I think he just didn't want to go through the obstacles of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, it felt like a performance of like someone. It just feels like the guy just wants to play his idol. It feels like he's just excited to be there. He's like, I've got this idol. I'm going to play it at the first tribal council. It's going to be fun. Not realizing that there's like another 46 days after this.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's terrible. It's the worst challenge performance I've ever seen. He was literally just stood there. Even George and Shawnee, who were deliberately throwing that challenge at heroes versus villains, did better than he did.
Yeah.
And they weren't trying to win.
At least they weren't like in China where they were just throwing the puzzles in the front of it, and they're like, "Oh, we don't know."
We need James Clement there yelling at people for standing there.
One voice.
Yeah. This isn't Sudoku. Any other thoughts on this challenge? All right, well, let's get to the scramble at the Brawn tribe. So it turns out Nash ends up putting the target on Candy, and then the rest of the tribe is pinning it on Nash or Ursula, wanting to split the votes, flush the idol. And at this point, Michael was already quite upset that Candy's name is getting thrown out. And we do get to tribal. We get this big discussion over Nash's idol. Nash does play the idol on himself to negate 3 votes, but it is Candy who is voted out first in a 5-4-0 vote. So what are your guys' thoughts on Candy being the first boot and everything that went down?
I was still so confused why her name was the first one thrown out. Like they didn't really build it up to where Nash didn't like Candy or Nash just thought she sucked at challenges. It was literally like, oh, it's Candy. And I was like, oh, okay, that's like a crazy name to just throw out there. So then I have to speculate the entire episode. Oh, why is it Candy? Which still, I'm just speculating it's because she's weak or, Nash just thought she was weak and the worst at performances, which that's kind of what I was getting from the tribal. But at the end of the day, it was just the whole episode, like leading there was funny to me. Like they just thought Ursula was Nash's like back pocket and that Nash is just trying to like get everyone to do what he wants, like Morgan and Kate, come with me. You know what I mean? Like it was just a funny episode. It was really fun to watch everyone scramble and just be chaotic and literally be forced to play the game on like day 2.
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't know if it's usual on Survivor to have your first tribal on day 2. In ours, it was day 3. So you had a full extra day to plot. So this you really had no time, I think when you have such short a time, it's more like anyone but me. Certainly that stage where everyone's still trying to find their feet. Just do anything you can to avoid this vote. With Candy, it was a shame because even though they've got some big guys on the Brawn tribe, you still need these sort of smaller, lighter people just to lift up. Every these challenges, they always have to get somebody up really high, and 50% of them, 60% of them, there has to be somebody on somebody's shoulders to get these high things. She would be perfect for that, So yeah, I'm kind of the same. I think it was a really, really surprising. I guess credit to Nash, I guess, for steering a couple of votes away from Ursula. But then I think again, a lot of the tribe were thinking, look, just anyone but me at this stage, just if whatever name's there, I'll bolt onto it and do it. And then starting afresh going into day 3, 4, 5, where you can really start playing. Because you do need they haven't had a full day yet to do it, any social stuff, any communications, any alliances. So I think it was more like let's get this one out the way, brush our hands off, and then we can come together and start feeling each other out.
Michael?
Was just so upset. Upset and angry. Like when I talked about picking Laura, Candy was my first draft pick. I thought she was going to be great this season. I picked my first pick for the Brawn tribe was the first boot. I thought she was going to be like a Valeria, someone like really beautiful, but also have these great social skills and get herself in there and find alliances. But I was also just really pissed off with Morgan and Kate.
Yeah.
Because they just bowed down to this guy's pressure when he has no real power. Like, why, even if he plays the idol, why does it need to be on Candy rather than Ursula? Like, I get the whole anyone but me thing, But it was either going to be Candy, Ursula, or Nash. If Nash doesn't play his idol, they have so many numbers that they can split the votes on Ursula, and Candy's going to get some. Like, if they didn't flip their vote, Ursula goes home, Nash has nobody. Instead, they actually got his move through. So this whole nonsense way of playing an idol worked out for him. I don't think it's going to work out in the long run, but Candy suffered the consequences of it because they were scared of him. They literally said, we're scared of what's going to happen if he comes back and he doesn't go home. And it's like, you've pissed off both sides. Nash doesn't have any power, and you've messed up the split vote with the actual main alliance. I just don't know how this puts them in a better spot.
Was it a 5-4-3 in the end?
Yeah.
I mean, there was some footage of Ursula looking for an idol. Unless the fear of Ursula unless they thought that she'd found the second idol, potentially. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I think there could have been little nuances that kind of triggered them to go that way. Like, because if you think, like, I theoretically am trying to look at it, and I'm like, Candy is closer to age with you two. She probably related better with you two than Ursula, who's a stay-at-home mom. Like, what made you want to flip with Nash so much more than, sticking out with Candy, being in the majority with all these other people who are, trying to work together? Like, did they really think that Nash is some mastermind? They're like, ooh, we can get behind this guy. Or, oh, let's let his plan work and then we just get rid of him next. Like, I'm still like baffled that Candy went home. But yeah, I'm just very confusing, like, act. Or is it's day two, they just want to get by and they're just scared, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And Ursula is a bit of a beast as well. She's a strong lady,
Yes.
So I guess that has to be considered as well. But I mean, this first vote, it was a bit confusing for me. There was no sort of clear cut path that I could see watching the episode that led to that vote. But very sad to see her go. I think they did make a mistake, to be honest.
It's gonna hurt some people's games. Like, I literally think she would have worked well with Kate and Morgan. Like, I really do think she would have.
Yeah, I agree. I'm almost thinking like we didn't see certain things, like maybe Kate and Morgan had a decent relationship or some sort of chat with Ursula and that we just didn't see it, and that's why they kept her in the game. We don't know. I feel like maybe Australian Survivor leaves a couple of relationships on the cutting room floor they have in the past seasons, so I guess I wouldn't be surprised if I hear that was just something that didn't make the edit.
That's true. Do they actually have a good relationship with Ursula, Nash, and is it Kristen who voted with them? Like, are those five actually like a decent, five? You know what I mean? So we don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Anything else on Candy being the first boot? All right, let's.
Sad.
Yeah, just sad. Michael loses his first pick. Unfortunately, Team Michael is going to take some more hits in this recap.
Going to take a battering.
All right, so we get to episode 2, and following the tribal, Zen does tell Nash that he voted for him after Zen and Nash kind of made some sort of deal after Nash found the idol. So that was interesting.
Can I quickly just comment on that? Because that was the one thing that Nash did where I was like, he has some gameplay about him. It's amazing how quickly you can get certain people to fold with just minimal pressure if they're not willing to lie or they don't feel comfortable lying. Because he literally just stares him down and just gets the information out of him. Like, Zen could have very easily just lied to him. It's like, no, the vote was so split, like it didn't have to be him. But he manages to get the truth out of him so quick. So that was like in 3 episodes, that was one glimpse of some actual good gameplay from Nash.
And he's a salesman too, right, Nash?
Yeah.
So like he must have that energy persona to like be in the presence of people and they're just like, ooh, I feel like I gotta tell Nash right now. Like I felt like I burned Nash and I need to tell him right now. And he's like literally just looking at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost think like it's also Zen is 20 years younger than Nash, so Nash has way more life experience, so he's able to use that against someone who is so much younger than him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right. So then we get back to the Brains tribe before the reward challenge, and so we have Kent the praying mantis planting more seeds against Miles. We'll get to more Miles stuff later. Indy suspects a women's alliance she isn't in because the women do talk to her about the six of them sticking together and getting rid of the guys. So then we get to the reward challenge, and so this is grabbing sandbags on the way down a giant slide. Doug, I think you did some sort of variation of the water slide challenge in your season, right?
Yeah, ours was a bit different. It's quite a common Australian one, but this one looked more fun.
Yeah.
It looked great. Going for the double was always good.
Yeah.
I think a few of them got some doubles.
Yeah.
Which was quite fun.
Yeah, was your slide challenge the one where you wrestled Nathan?
Yeah, that was right. That was right. So same slide, but when you get to the bottom, it's a very different story. It's a bit more a bit carnage. But cool challenge. I just like how they've got their formula down. The Australian Survivor guys are always tweaking things just to make it a bit more variation, freshen it up a little bit, which is really good. They're always just so grand and spectacle, and they're combining both the brains and the brawn elements to each tribe. So you're always ending with a bit of puzzle, a bit of strategy.
Yeah.
Prior to that, there was a bit of physical element to it as well. So they're always great fun to watch. You know, one of the things I love the most in Survivor is the challenges, as well as the scramble. But the challenges are always just good fun. You know, So another great challenge.
Yeah. So then they have to knock down the puzzle pieces, swim out and solve it, and it's for large fish or fishing gear. So, Michael Austin, any thoughts on this challenge?
I mean, I agree with Doug. I just think Survivor Australia does the challenges so well, and I was so happy that Survivor UK kind of adapted that version of the challenges when they did it. I feel like sometimes the US challenges are just very like safe. I know safe's a good thing, but they feel very like clinical, like I don't know, like sterile in a weird way. Like there's something like grungy and dirty about the Survivor Australia challenges. They're a bit like clunky and they're brutal and they really are rough. And we see, we're going to get an injury in these three episodes. I just think they do such a good job on the scale of them as well. Like they're big and epic, and the challenges are fantastic in Survivor Australia.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, I appreciate these challenges because like people like I always was telling Jake, like I feel like they barely hit each other ever in these challenges in the US. Like they barely even touch each other anymore. Like in like brawls or like 1v1s. Like those are like the type of challenges I enjoy watching, like reward wise. Like this one specifically was a fun one because like they're just, having fun, kind of just grabbing bags, getting pissed at each other if one misses, and then you gotta like knock down this puzzle, yell at each other some more. Like it's like a fun like reward challenge. So like I appreciate these type of challenges, and I appreciate seeing them too. Like because sometimes they don't even show the reward challenges.
Agreed. So the brains do win the challenge, and then we get back to the brains camp, and Karen and Allie, they get tired of Rich, which came out of nowhere because it seemed like Rich was well liked like for an episode and a half, and then all of a sudden everybody hates him on the women's side. So thoughts on apparently Rich not being well liked by the women?
Going back to, did they have the choice of a fish or fishing gear?
Yeah, so it was a choice of fish or fishing.
Yeah. What do you think? What would you guys have chosen?
Fishing gear, surely.
Yeah.
I think it's an easy decision to make when you're not hungry. You know about the real hunger out there, Doug, but like fishing gear seems like the obvious choice, but I'm saying that with a full belly.
I think I would have took the gear if I knew that there was people on the tribe that knew how to fish. Like I don't know if that was a consideration that they were making when they were observing the two, but I forget who the dude was that knew how to fish on their tribe, but I mean, he seemed pretty like adamant about, guys, we should probably take the gear because I know we can get this long term.
I think it was Kalen, right?
Kalen, yeah. Another one of my picks, still in there.
The one who chopped the coconuts at his coconut shop.
Yeah.
And you just know that there is the high likelihood there's going to be an idle clue hidden in that fishing tackle in the box somewhere, you know. You have to take the gear, in my opinion. You have to take it.
Yeah,
for sure.
reminds me of Kageon. Tony found like the clue in the little tackle box and then running around like a madman.
I did want to mention with you bringing up Rich and the girls. Yeah, that was kind of out of nowhere, but one of the few points that I feel like I made when we were drafting that's been good so far is I had a feeling Rich could be annoying, and I think the girls are obviously annoyed by just Rich being like the film energetic type person he is.
Yeah.
So like him getting that type of rub on the girls was like not mind shocking to me, but it was mind shocking to me when it just randomly got tossed into the edit. Like, oh, we hate Rich. Like they hate some of them hate him. Like it sounds like so. Like that's where I'm confused, but I'm not shocked that they just dislike him.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a big character, right? He likes to he's got like a big mouth and stuff. He's sort of like a big guy, and now you're sort of 3 days in. These little sort of, it could be death by a thousand paper cuts, it could be just slowly building over time. You built your shelter, won a few things, and then suddenly you just kind of like, I've had enough of this guy. It's just kind of got to me now. Especially if you're getting along with everyone else, you kind of nothing unites a tribe more than like a common enemy. So yeah, a bit surprising at the end of it, but it's like once you've spent an extended amount of time with somebody and they've slowly ground you down over the last few days, especially if they're a big personality, and that just clashes with yours.
For sure.
It's even more confusing as well because there was a scene earlier in the episode where Laura and the girls discuss bringing Rich in as a shield, and they clearly do a really good job because Rich is completely oblivious to none of them liking him.
Yeah.
Like they need to be keeping him around because he has no clue of what's going on. It's wild. They're all talking shit about it behind his back, and he's like, "Hey, we're so close. We're the alliance." And again, that's just great gameplay, specifically by Laura, because we see, Logan being really emotional about it. Like Laura is super. I don't know. She seems to not let that override her at all. Like she sees the benefit of having someone like Rich, and she's trying to calm this whole situation down. Like, who cares if he annoys you? Just tune him out, ignore him. She literally says that to Logan as Logan's blowing up this entire cushy thing they've got going on here. So yeah, it was kind of wild that they just turned around on him so quick.
And that's why I like these girls on this tribe because they like it's almost like the guys don't care, and I think they literally say it at one point where who was it that brought it up? I think it was the poker guy AJ. I think he brought up something like, "Dude, we need to be aware of the girls," and like I forget which guy it was, but he was like, "Oh, who cares?" And I'm sitting here like, Jesus Christ, like most of these guys are either not strategizing or they just don't care that these 5 girls are like literally strategizing and like together we literally see the 5 of them like just standing on the beach like maybe a foot away from the camp. I'm like, how obvious is this? Like as a viewer, like they're literally just yapping away over here. But yeah, it's interesting that they wanted to use him as a shield too, because like I feel like when you're on the actual island and someone is so damn annoying to you, then you're just losing your mind already from starvation and being dehydrated. You're just like, I am actually done with this person and they need to get out of here like ASAP. Like, so I wonder if that's what's going to happen with Rich at some point, or like, are they trying to think of something long term with Rich? Because there was 2 chances they could have got rid of Rich, and they took obviously 2 different choices each time. So
yeah. Yep. All right. So then we get to the immunity challenge, and this is pushing a giant spool and untie bags to throw on 4 targets. So Brawn does win this challenge, but what do you guys think of the challenge?
This is another fun one. I don't have anything specific on this one. It was a fun challenge. I like the throwing bag ones, and was this the one where can't remember the guy's name, but he like absolutely crushed it. It was a complete blowout.
Was it Ben?
No. It might have been
Ben.
Yeah.
Where he just hit bag after bag. They were behind, and he literally just hit like all 4 in about 10 throws.
Yeah, I think it was weren't Ben and Noonan together on the throwing them, and then they just consecutively just kept hitting. Yeah.
I think PD finished it out. I
Oh,
remember
PD,
him
yeah.
going like this at the end, but yeah.
Well, speaking of PD, because we haven't said anything about him, he's actually also impressed me a little more than I thought. Because I got left with him in the draft, and I was like, I'm not sure how he's gonna connect or how much strategic sense he's going to have. And he impressed me with, how he thought about the first vote, and then like it just seems like everybody likes him and he's good in challenges. So
Yeah, I could see him being like a goody guy, like almost a floater type,
mhm.
pre-merge type player. Like he's just gonna be there to give his opinion, be a cool older guy. Like I usually like the older guy archetype. That's why like not only that, but he's a football coach or sports coach in general. But I like he's the guy that I probably relate to probably at the top of my list for this cast, and I'm excited to see like PD how he's gonna do it because his bio literally was always he's always like talking football terminology or like sports terminology. So like it's gonna be interesting when we finally get to see a little more like specifics of him because I'm excited to see him. But yeah, I agree with you. I thought he was just gonna be a dud like off the start, but I mean he's fitting in well, it seems like.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to play the first few days of Survivor. Just coming in and doing your part of the challenges and just keeping your cool and don't ruffle too many feathers and just buying yourself some time. And then once the cracks appear and the fissures, then you can start to think about how you can manipulate and bolt onto things. I think it's quite a good way to play it.
For sure.
Especially with like Survivor Australia, where it's such a longer game as well.
Yeah.
Like there's so many days, so like yeah, playing it slow it is a good way to like ingratiate yourself. And he's also useful in the challenges, which is a huge part of that early game. So yeah, I think he could be well insulated for a while.
Yeah. I think
I'm a big fan of.
Oh, you go. Sorry, man.
Oh no, I was only one comment I was gonna make was I'm personally a fan of athletes when they're like on these shows like Olympians or like coaches or like I mean you go through all this stress your entire life like especially like if you're doing sports from the age of like 3 like you learn those type of components to work as a team be like a leader in some capacity stressed 24/7 when you're practicing getting ready for the big game like so I look at like PD and I'm like he's probably strategically doing this to some component that we don't know. You know what I mean? So I'm excited.
Yeah. It's just if he'll be blinded by loyalty when it comes down to it. You know, you think with football coaches and stuff, can you twist the knife when needs be to get you further into the game, which is going to be quite interesting.
Right. For sure. All right. Let's get to the giant scramble and the tribal, and then we'll let you guys talk about what all it goes down here. All right. So Kent thinks that everybody's going for Miles, so he goes to take a nap.
As you do.
I thought he was built. I thought he was either looking for idols or building a spy shack, and then he just pulled his buff down over his face and went to sleep. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought he would have done. He's like, I literally took him as like the madman that would just start running for idols like when he got back. He just takes a nap. He was that like calm, like, oh, it's Miles, I know it, and then took a nap. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly, man. Just come on, dude. You've seen every season there is. You have blueprints there on how to play the game.
Mhm.
Unless you're trying something so left field that nobody's done before. I again don't understand it. Don't love to put in the water over there.
Yeah, right.
All right, so then more chaos happens. Indy goes to Rich and tells him the girls are targeting him. Rich then goes to the women and spills that to them, and Indy becomes a target because of that. And then you have Miles finding out that he's a target, so he says, Operation Play It Cool, as he shouts in his confessional.
What's going on?
Thoughts, I guess, on the scramble before we get to the chaos of tribal.
I don't know. Indy, just let's unpack it. Let's go one by one. Indy, again, don't quite know what she was thinking there. You're so early in the game. This is your first big vote. There's so much game left to play. these alliances aren't going to be set in stone just quite yet. Just ride the. You're actually in a fairly good position. You know, if you stick to this female alliance, you're actually quite decent because you're sort of in the middle of it, and you're behind the leaders that will get targeted. It's a nice one to be in, and you've just shot yourself right in the head. You know, you've blown it up completely, and you've gone to Rich, who is kind of quite unstable at this time, and he's getting nervous, and he's a big character, and it just didn't work. I can understand where it was coming from. It did not work at all.
Michael, Austin.
It was a disaster, complete disaster. I think a couple of things happened. I think she really didn't adapt well to the paranoia of the game. I think paranoia got to her big time. So, like you say, she just needs to be like to lay low. She's got numbers. She's in a good position. She just needs to not freak out. But she says it like 2 or 3 times in this episode when she's talking to the girls, where she comes straight out and says, "I don't feel like I'm part of this group." It's like you might feel that, but don't vocalize it.
Right.
Like you're guaranteeing that they're gonna push you out.
Yeah.
Like it's you're just completely making this an issue when it might not have been. And then when she decides to go to Rich, I think she's also not good in those high pressure situations. So like it's not the worst idea in the world to if you want to play with Rich and you think Rich has numbers, maybe join that alliance. But she does it so frantically where she's telling him the truth and he completely doesn't believe her because she's shaking and she's just freaking out. So he just thinks she's lying. He's lying to him. She's lying to him, and it's like she didn't have to do that. She's not good at lying, and she's paranoid. That's not a good combo in Survivor.
Nope.
Yeah, I just she seemed like she wasn't in the type of scenario that she's used to almost. Like, what if she's always been, like a leader of around men, or like she usually is in charge or something like that? Because I mean, she was in a group of 6 where in my POV, I feel like she probably just gets by for like the next episode after episode with this 6, but like she also didn't seem like she was in a bad spot socially with the whole group. Like I almost where it killed for me was her being extremely bold with the 2 guys near the water well, where she was like, literally, if you vote for me, I will kill you, basically, like in this game. And I'm just like, that's horrible. Like, you are so screwed now. Like, you're threatening people on day 5. Like, this is not a good look on you, Indy. Because I liked her going into this because she's a comedian, blah blah blah, and I'm just like, she's gonna be good. Like, I have a feeling that she could be good, and then she just completely goes crazy. I think she just lost it, honestly. Like, not being included. She kind of like crashed out at Tribal too. I mean, she was just losing it.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't want to work with someone who's going nuts, like just can't even control their own emotions. Like, I'm just like, Indy, man.
That's Survivor for you, man. You know, if you're not sleeping right and you're in this temperature you're not used to, you're not quite eating what you're used to, they all creep up on you. That's the genius of the game. You know, it gets in your head. And just case number 1 right here. It just happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
lose another pick.
yeah. Let's get to Tribal. So before Indy's vote out, we get the big bombshell that Kent spilling that he burnt Max's hat for some reason. No idea why. Rich outs the VB's alliance, and Indy gets thrown under. That's basically all the chaos that happens, leading to Indy being voted out 10-2. So let's talk about that bombshell from Kent.
I'm almost shocked he didn't go home there just because of that. Like, Indy must have dug her grave so hard that they were still okay with, we'll just worry about Kent next episode.
It's so stupid to like, okay, fine, you're gonna be like the Russell Hanson, like burn somebody's things and then just like pin it on somebody else. I mean, people were actually believing that it was Miles. They literally say it at Tribal. I have no idea why Kent then decides to out himself for like, there was just no rhyme or reason for him doing that. And so like, Kent is a terrible Survivor player.
I think we need we need to watch some of his exit interviews if there is one out there, because I need to know. I just need to know.
Yeah, I think Kent just did one. I think they're not doing ones except I think they're only doing like one a week or something, or like the most recent person voted out at the end of the week. So I don't know. I think that's weird for 10 play in Australia to do that, but I guess maybe there's a reason for that.
I
So
wish they do some like traders, like even the pre-merge, like have
yeah,
like a 10-minute conversation about how they feel right after, like at least like a few hours after, so that we can get some clarity on certain, like things. Like why did this person vote this way when we had no idea what they did the entire episode?
right.
Pre-Ponderosa.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. So, um, any other thoughts on that, or any thoughts on Indy being the second person voted out?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I noticed was she must have been so upset, emotionally got to her, because usually when at the end of every Survivor series, there's always that little sit down and you have the tribal council fires behind you. There wasn't one. She must have not been up for speaking straight after it because there's only the voiceover over the rolling credits. So I think I saw that one time before where Russell got voted out and when he came to Australian Survivor, and his exit bit was when he was sitting on the beach a few days later. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it must have been a tough one for Nash Survivor. It's the brutality of the game.
It's a rough game. I just think she maybe wasn't cut out for it. It's everyone thinks they could play, and like even someone like we all, apart from Doug, haven't played the game and think we would be amazing. And who knows? You can go out there on the island and think you're super prepared for it, and you might not be. Like it's tough, and it just didn't feel like the game was for her.
Yeah,
Yeah, she just fizzled out. And I agree with everything you just said. Like, just you had to have gotten to her. Feels bad, for Indy.
yeah, unfortunate. All right, our last episode of the week, and so we open it up. How we open up our short for this episode with a Stephen Bradbury reference from Champions versus Contenders 2. That was an interesting reference that I didn't see coming.
He was also mentioned in Heroes versus Villains. Is Steve Bradbury the most mentioned player?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think did David mention him in All Stars at all? Because I feel like David made a reference to him in All Stars as well. So I don't know.
Possibly.
All right. Well, so aside from that, we get to the reward challenge, which is going to affect a player here with Zen, because we got a physical challenge for loaded fries, of all things. And they're tackling each other and trying to get these to the end first and get, was it the flag or the bell or whatever? And it ended up being. And so we find out that Zen is going to end up injuring his fingers. So what are your guys' thoughts on this challenge?
Man, love this challenge. Love these challenges. Love a good one-on-one. Just a real physical battle, a big impact. They're just so good. And if you're a contestant, you're just nervous as hell. You're nervous as hell in case you embarrass yourself or you do something crazy. But this is one of the reasons why I love Survivor Australia. It's so freaking physical. And you have this like 100-kilo guys just running full pelt at each other, and you have twisted ankles and sadly to say, dislocated fingers or fractured fingers, which is so sad. But Noonan, huge hit. Absolutely huge hit by her. Absolute smash. And I think when Zen went up against Kaylin, that was a big old impact.
Yeah.
It's really you're sort of flexing your muscles in these sort of challenges, and I'm all for them. They're great fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, for the part where Zen hurts his fingers, I mean, I was trying to, when they showed like the flashback of when like his fingers were crushed or whatever happened, like it looked at first to me that it got crushed like when they were like through the net or something. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the netting that ended up being the biggest impact. I think he must have just weirdly got in there and got stuck and twisted, and like, I mean, when you fracture this entire like part of your hand, that's incredibly like bad. Like that's probably why they pulled him. They were like,
Yeah.
we could probably tape it up together, but you crushed like way more than just this bone in your pinky,
Right.
dude. Like you're screwed. So yeah, I felt bad for him after that because I mean at the end of that like scene where he's like, "Oh, it's bruised and I'm sure I'll go check with the med and I'll be fine." I would in my head I'm like, yeah, if it's black and bruised, like that's not just that's not like a typical, oh, my bone dislocated. That's like something snapped in half type injury.
Oh.
Yeah, it sucked to have Zen leave this way. So, Michael.
It's just such a hard hitting challenge.
Yeah.
Like even the one with Noonan, but also when Ali and Ursula were against each other, and Ali like palm striked Ursula in the face. It was crazy. Like I thought she broke her nose.
Yeah.
It's just such a physical challenge, and yeah, the fact that this leads to a medevac is so sad. I lose another pick. That's three episodes, 3 picks out of the game. It's not going well for me. Poor Zen. I think he had some good social skills, and I think he would have been in a good spot. He was also really good in the challenges. Like, I don't think they would have got rid of him anytime soon. It's just such a shame. I think he was pretty well positioned.
Yeah.
Zen was proving me wrong because I thought he was going to be out of the loop completely and kind of like a completely different character as a 21-year-old hip hop artist. Like he proved me wrong, and I was really excited to start watching his game. Like that whole tribe, like he was in the water just cleaning himself, and they're all fixated on him. I'm like, if everyone likes you like this, like you're definitely gonna be here a while. So it made me sad to see that he had to go because of this. Cause like netting challenges always give me anxiety. Ever since I watched that South African season where the chick snapped her neck, I was like, oh, I hate netting challenges after oh, and Courtney Moon snapped her
Oh yeah, in One World. Yeah.
wrist, was it?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, these netting challenges sometimes like I don't know.
Yeah, it's scary. I definitely feel bad for him. I agree. Like, I mean, the fact that everybody on that tribe is crying as he's leaving, like that speaks volumes of like he was very well liked on that tribe and they definitely weren't going to take him out. Like, yeah, he had like the major like he revealed too much information to Nash a little bit, but like I don't think it was anything that was going to doom him in the game, really. So I think he was going to be fine for a while.
I feel like you almost get leeway when you're just so loved by your entire tribe. Like, oh, that's just Zen almost type of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that Zen is going to be brought back in another season or two? Like, I mean, he got a pretty decent size edit for someone that was like the third out of the game, was medevaced. Like, I almost feel like they will look for a way to get Zen back on like the next season or a couple seasons from now.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely agree. I think because you're bringing in the last season was fresh players. You got your fresh players coming in there, so looking for the new crop of returnees, I guess, and he'd be near the top of the list, I guess.
Agreed.
When you've got 24 attorneys to fill, like they've got a bit more wiggle room there to get people in. They've been good about bringing people back that have, haven't had their time. So like Nina came back the very next season. I think Jake, you mentioned like obviously she's Sandra's daughter, so that maybe gives her an extra edge. But like, yeah, to be taken out of the game so soon, I'd like to see him get the chance to come back.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets that. I mean, we've literally had other pre-merge people come back in later seasons that maybe didn't necessarily deserve it, but yeah. All right, so after this, or in between this, we do get Paulie also finding the idol. He finds the napkin clue, finds the idol, and he lies to Noonan, who he says is his closest ally, and says he just has the clue, he doesn't have the idol. So what are your guys' thoughts on this scene and Paulie finding the new Brawn idol?
I like it. My entire theory with idols is usually don't tell anyone, but I mean, I guess probably still fitting my theme. I mean, he tells her he has a clue, but doesn't obviously tell her that he has it. So I wonder how that'll work. That'll work out for him. Maybe Noonan will, keep that close to her chest and not say anything, or maybe she's skeptical and like, oh, I'm gonna tell some of my allies now that Polly could find an idol. So like,
Right.
you never know. I feel like building trust is good in the game, but I feel like advantages are like that one thing where sometimes might be best to just kind of pocket it and call it a day.
For sure. For sure. Any other thoughts on this?
I really don't like the kind of half and half lie and truth thing when it comes to idols like that, where you're kind of putting yourself in a position where you're either going to have to find the idol. You see it so many times where they tell them that they've got the clue, but actually I've got the idol. But then they end up going looking for it together, and they have to re-find the idol and fake it. It's like you're going to have to admit that you've got the idol at some point. Like just tell her you've got the idol, or don't tell her you've got the idol. It's kind of one or the other. The whole like, oh, I've got the clue, but not the idol yet. I don't really see the benefit of that strategically.
Yeah. Or be like David and take what was Phoebe's idol and use it against her.
Poor Phoebe.
Oh. Doug, any thoughts on
Yeah, I liked it. I like that strategy. You know, you could manipulate it in a number of ways. You know, you could use it to throw Noon under the bus if you needed to.
Yeah.
You know, she's off finding an idol. Let's go get her. You could do it in a number of ways. I think the half and half is good. I think it's good. I think he's in a good position in the tribe. I don't think it'll impact him too much potentially, and there's no harm in him. He could go back and say, "Oh, I found it." Later on, you know, if he could still has the room to maneuver there, you know, after a few more days thinking. I had a look at the map again on the internet, and I couldn't work out what it said. Like it was, I don't know what was the X, because he had the tree in the top corner and he had an X at the bottom, but the idol was in the tree. So I just don't know. I'm still trying to fucking out them to read the map.
Yeah, I wasn't seeing how to read it either, so
I'm bring it up in front of me.
It was quite a like big map, like a big area. It wasn't very specific.
Mhm.
Like I don't know how you would find it from that clue.
Yeah,
It didn't lead. It just led you to a generic area. I guess he just checked around it, but yeah, it wasn't the best clue we've seen.
for
You know
sure.
what I thought funny was that Noonan just asked Polly too. Like she's like, "Oh, did you find it?" Like I don't like was she joking? Was she like sussed a little bit because he was gone for a little bit? You know what I mean? I thought that was hilarious that Noonan was just kind of like, let's see what happens. What is he gonna say to me?"
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
Noonan's really like in tune with the game. Noonan's another player that really surprised me. I didn't think too much of her as a player, like a potential player when I was looking at the bio of her. But I think she's got really good game sense. And she was one of the absolute top standouts. Apart from like Kent and Nash being crazy, the standout real players for me have been the women this season. Like the guys are all either like a mess or just crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, they have these dumb thoughts of plans to do that can't even get constructed correctly, or they're just doing dumb like votes like Kent just on Miles 24/7. He literally doesn't care about any other plan, strategy. I'm just like, what are the dudes doing in this like episode or season?
yeah, yeah. It was just so funny when Michael and I were watching the episodes 2 and 3 together, and we were like, as soon as Kent just kept writing down Miles for the next 2 episodes, we're just like, oh, of course Kent's voting Miles. Like,
He's got good handwriting, though, I must say. Like,
yeah,
It's like a bad breakup almost. Like Kent just can't get Miles out of his head. It's like 24/7. Just Miles on the mind.
Miles didn't do anything. It's like a bad breakup with someone you never dated.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe Miles shouting in his confessionals is being overheard by everybody. I don't know.
Miles posted a funny Instagram story, or it was a tweet about like three text messages, and it was the name erased, and it was just Miles, and I was like, "Hey, let's vote out Miles. Are you still down for Miles?" Like I was just cracking up. It was good.
All right, and meanwhile, when Polly's going for the idol, instead the rest of the Brawn tribe is practicing holding their breath. I found that funny when Michael and I were watching the episode, and they're just pretending to drown.
Boys being boys.
All right, so yeah, then the immunity challenge after Zen is evacuated is the slingshot challenge. So you have Kent firing, hitting all these targets, but it's not gonna matter. And the Brawn tribe is going to win their second immunity in a row for Zen. So, any thoughts on this challenge? Or are you ready to hit the scramble?
I don't have a lot of comments on this one. I was watching this episode at work, and I think I just didn't watch the actual challenge as much. But
yeah, it's probably, I guess, the weakest challenge out of the ones in these 3 episodes, to be honest. I liked all the other challenges better.
It's a fun basic challenge. Yeah, it's good.
All right, so we get to the scramble, and so Kent again thinks it is Miles. The Coven says Kent, but really the big story here is that AJ really wants to play, so he really wants to target Logan to get rid of one of the girls, and so he tells Allie, like, don't tell Logan, we're gonna get her out. Allie, of course, goes and tells Logan this, and Logan and Allie are really considering switching it to AJ. So, I mean, did you guys think AJ was done after this? Because I definitely did think it was going to switch to AJ at Tribal. So
yeah, the edit was just teasing, wasn't it? It was teasing for a big AJ blindside.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bad read from the poker player.
Yeah.
Really
I was
bad read. Confused, man. I'm like, AJ. I guess the thought was kind of well with AJ. I mean, he probably hit it on the head pretty well. Logan's probably the most respected girl out of the 5, but like he wanted to just do it immediately, and that's like where I'm at with like big moves so early. I'm like, sometimes you gotta like baby step it a little bit, because if you get called out, like he got called out, like you're screwed, because that person's gonna retaliate with numbers.
Yeah,
it's like going. It's the right read. Like, this alliance is super strong, and especially, once Indy went, the women that are left are so tight with each other, and they should be picking up on that. But for some reason, AJ is the only one that really seems to be pointing it out. But why would you then go to Ali?
Yeah,
you know how tight they are.
Yeah,
and we don't see him try and get Kent involved in the plan. We don't see him trying to get Miles involved in the plan. If you want to try and flip that vote onto Logan, you need to at least make sure you've got numbers before you approach them. Like,
right.
We didn't see that he had anyone really, and then he completely backed off on it. It was such an ill thought out plan that was never going to work, and he's lucky to be still in the game.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And if you're AJ making the comment that you don't think the guys are playing anyway, why don't you just get the 6 of them together and be like, we can take a great pick at Logan right now. Let's do it now. Even if Kent doesn't vote the right way, it's a 5-5-1, right? So like he's gonna have to make a decision at the end of the day. Yes. And if it's still Kent, I mean, then what would happen? Who would be the one?
Miles, that's too much brain work because Kent will only vote for Miles.
Yeah. I honestly think even if AJ had gone to Kent, Kent would have just argued and still voted Miles. I don't think that was ever, his mind was ever changing.
I guess where I was going with it was it probably didn't hurt at all to just do the boys versus girls there if the girls are already so specifically aligned. Like, just knock one of them off. It could be Logan, and if you don't have to tell any of the girls. Like, I don't know why he wanted to.
Right.
I think also it was Ali that he went to with the plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, because Ali's in a great position because you're in the sort of big alliance, and you've got if you're a lieutenant to your captain right in front of you, you've got that shield within your little alliance. So she doesn't want that to be compromised at all. Yeah, really bad read. Really, really, really bad read.
And I don't think the girls ever bring it up, do they? That AJ was trying to get their Logan.
Logan wasn't very subtle.
Yeah, I don't think I thought she did say something to Laura.
Well, I know they
You
talked
mean at
amongst the
tribal?
five,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah,
did
yeah.
they ever bring it? Because I don't think they ever like specifically went like, oh, well, AJ's trying to play this massive game, trying to get
No,
rid of Logan like at tribal or something. You know what I mean?
no,
So
they
I
did
think
not say that. No.
yes, and that even furthers this girls alliance. Like they're playing it smart. Like they're just keeping it to them. And I mean, AJ's definitely going to be in hot water because Logan was not having it.
Yeah, I mean, at Tribal, she was definitely, yeah, as Michael said, she wasn't being subtle. She was very clearly, I mean, like if I'm AJ there, I'm definitely seeing that she knows that. But maybe we'll see that next week that he caught on to it. So we'll have to see.
Yeah,
Can we
get your get.
discuss? I sorry, I have like something that I think is very unfair, and we Ferris talked about this when we
Yes.
talked to him on the podcast. Um, on an Australian Survivor, I don't know if it works. Doug, you can tell us with Survivor UK, but with Tribal, they are put in seating positions. They are told where they sit, and feel like this is very unfair for this women's alliance, especially when it is an all women's alliance. It's so much more obvious that they are completely separated from the group. And I think if they're doing such a good job of tricking Rich, tricking them into, they don't see this coming, putting them together like that, it could completely blow up their game by a production element. Like, what do you guys think about that stuff? Because I think that's very unfair, especially to someone like Laura who's playing this so well.
Yeah, this is a little trade secret, I guess. In our season, it was always someone sat in the middle who was going to get voted out.
Wow.
Yeah, um, we worked out like just after the show had ended. So, and you might see it like it's never usually the end pillars are the ones closest to um, JLP. It's always the drama's always sort of circulated in the middle of the seating arrangement because you're surrounded by people around you and you want to have that real awkwardness right in the center of the seating arrangement.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely matters.
Yeah. Because Michael and I were discussing this like after recording episode 3, and we're like, yeah, it just feels like you could pick out who is working with whom, like when you're sitting on the other side and you look over, there's 5 girls there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely.
Austin, your thoughts on this?
Um, I don't really have thoughts. I was already pre-planning what I'm going to talk about in the next portion of this. So
Yeah. So we'll get to that. And so the Coven whispers with each other. Logan and AJ have the weird convo where yeah, Logan is not being very subtle. And yeah, the split vote ends up being between Kent and Miles anyway, and Kent is sent home 8-3 over Miles. So what are your guys' thoughts on this, Austin, if you wanted to talk about that?
yeah, I don't want to jump the scenario, but my huge thing with the Kent vote is still like he must have been just so toxic to the point, like with episode 2 where I was getting at. Sometimes you just can't stand a person. You just gotta get rid of them for the sanity of everyone. It must have just been that because Kent being like the worst survivor out there would have been such a benefit to keep around. I feel like the dude was getting nowhere with this tribe. He would have been a number that never would have been utilized correctly, or just like the girls could have plugged in if needed, and then like I don't know. Like Kent was never going to take charge, is where I'm getting at in this group. And like, he couldn't ever get a Miles vote to go along. Why get rid of the guy? Like, if you're so caught on Rich being this head of the snake, and he is like, I guess from my POV, he's kind of the boy's boy of the tribe. Like, just get rid of him. That's a good strategy move. And now they're all scattered and you still have Kent being a complete jackass on your tribe. I mean, like sometimes you want the crazies running around, like it's creating, stress and chaos. And if you're type 5 girls, who cares? Because it doesn't bother you now. So I don't know. I thought it was a little wonky of a vote, and I get it if he was that strenuous to everyone. Like let's just get, let's all come together and just boot him off for the sanity of everyone. Maybe that's what it was, but I don't know. I don't see like this strategic stance of getting rid of Kent. I feel like he would have been such a good long-term like GOAT or like someone who never would have done anything for this tribe specifically.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's when you're dealing with someone like that who's just hell bent on getting somebody out, who kind of always sees red. They can be useful, but at the same time, they have the potential to really blow up your entire game. I was in a similar situation. Um, I did a tribe swap on my season, and I went over with my mate called Pegleg, and Pegleg was really hell bent, seeing tunnel vision to put a vote onto this guy Shy, who like for some reason he wanted him out, and at that time when we switched, it really wasn't the best time to do that. We had to work with this guy to keep us in the game, and it took a lot of convincing to try and stand him down to do that. And it was quite uncomfortable. You know, it can put the fear of God into you if somebody is just so adamant, takes to that personal level to get this guy out, and they'll do anything they take to write their name down. It can be difficult for sure.
I guess my only thought with
watch
that
Survivor
is,
UK and see Doug's amazing tribe swap. He managed to pull that out.
I was about to say that was a interesting tribe swap, wasn't it? It was like you guys like volunteered to go, and then you guys just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I quite like the randomness. I mean, it adds a nice bit of strategy to it, I guess. But the chaos and randomness of our Australian UK Survivor swap, when it's just like bucks and there you go, that's just chaos. You can't plan for that, you know. Which is also good fun.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think this worked out well for the girls. It just in terms of they they have Rich, and by extension they have Max. This to me, the indie tribal wasn't what they wanted to happen, and it was a tribal that blew up, and they weren't. That's not the result they wanted. This was like a stabilizing tribal council. They just needed a guy to go.
Hmm.
And if people are willing to jump on an easy vote like Kent, who's a lunatic, like it gives them some semblance of control. It keeps, you know, Rich and Max happy, and they're not considering this a gender lines thing. But it's getting them into a position where soon, if they don't address it, the girls are going to be in complete control of this tribe. So I think it was a good move for them.
Yeah, I feel like the two options are, yeah, as you guys have said, like, yeah, getting rid of Kent, getting rid of the wild card, then toxicity is always good. I also think like maybe the girls should have taken that shot at AJ in this episode. It obviously would have blown more things up and would have gotten more people angry, of course, but I mean, based on next episode, seems like obviously AJ is going to be able to get the guys to mobilize against them. Obviously, Kent was not going to be able to do that, and him and Miles were going to be butting heads. So, like, I definitely think it's possibly the wrong move anyway, just because they could have made a bigger play. But also, I understand why you would get rid of Kent at this point. So.
Yeah, I see the green flags with, the vote for sure. Like longevity, you want to get as many people on your side. Hey, you want to get as many people on your side anyway. Like so voting together, what was it, 8? Like now you're happy camp, you go back to camp, whatever. But I also see the side where I'm like, you could have gotten rid of somebody that is probably going to screw you over later in the game if they get a chance, or like an AJ, like you're saying, Jake. Like poker people think a lot. Like that's like their biggest strength in poker. They're able to read a room and think on the go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So is AJ gonna sneak by to a swap and then screw these girls? Whereas what if they didn't, say they got rid of AJ or Rich, Kent, what would he have done in a situation if he made a swap with, in that type of situation? So this episode will be like one of those reflection episodes for me where I'm like, oh, if like a Lauren gets screwed in like 4 episodes, what of Kent being there would have helped her in a way. Could it have?
Yeah, very much so. All right, well, we're gonna do a draft check-in real quick, and then we'll do predictions, and we'll see if anybody wants to plug anything as well. So, our draft check-in right now, I still have all 8 people. Michael is down to 5, has lost Candy, Indy, and Zen from the game. And Austin is down to 7, has lost Kent. So, anything can happen. Michael can rebound. We'll have to see.
Hope so.
Yeah, let's hope you don't lose 3 more in a row.
If that happens, I'm done.
At least you don't have to like worry about 5 people if you lose 3 more. You can worry about 2 and like just be their fan favorites.
Yeah, the comeback's gonna be good. I'll take it.
Yeah. All right, let's do predictions. So, Doug, who is your winner pick for the season? What do you think is going to happen?
Okay, I have 3 names that I've written down who I think have had good edits and are playing pretty good. We've kind of spoken about 2 of them. Laura is having a great game. Noonan as well in the Brawn. I think she clearly knows what the crack is, and the game over at the Brawn tribe was initiated within 30 seconds of them arriving. So she's right into it now. She's playing the game, no hiding places. I've also got Kalen as well, who I think's he's doing pretty good. He's kind of being that sort of happy-go-lucky guy, doing his bit, kind of keeping his nose out of trouble, just setting the foundations for quite a solid game at the start, and buying himself time to operate. Liking how he's going about it. I'm going to put him as my winner pick for now, I think. We will see, though. I know how this game can rip your heart out and break it at the drop of a hat, to be honest.
That's a good... Kalen's a really good pick. I'm thinking... I mean, out of who I have on my team, who do I think has like a really good shot at this point? I mean, I could see Pauly making it at least to merge. So I think maybe Pauly is like a top contender out of the people I have on my team. Austin and Michael.
So I may be not doing well with my draft picks, but I have some good ones left. I have Kalen in my draft picks. I have Laura in my draft picks, and I have Max in my draft picks. I could see all 3 of them being right there at the end game. So I think Laura so far is the best player to me. I think Max is someone who's socially going to get very far. I agree. Noonan is another big standout. So I'm juggling around between those 4. And just to wrap up my little segment here, I would like to say if you would like to watch me play Survivor, I will be playing Survivor Org this weekend on the Day After podcast. It's a mini. It's going to be on Saturday, Sunday night, so you can watch me play. So check out the Day After podcast.
Oh yes,
yeah, Doug, you should definitely check it out. I'll also be helping mod it, so I'll get to watch Michael in real time as well.
Good luck, man.
Tribes, and I've been recording this, so I haven't been able to reply to messages. So hopefully they're not angry at me already.
What you should do, right? Find an idol in the first 30 seconds and then just show everybody.
Tell everyone.
Do it. Tell everyone.
I'll take your advice. It's going to work.
You like your draft pick, Nash. Yes. Austin, your predictions?
So I've had a winner pick from the get-go, and it's probably never going to change. I'm still very high on Morgan winning. We might have not seen a lot from her this episode, but I still have a lot of faith in her. It's more of a bias, hope / want type of win scenario for me. Just trying to look through the cast and with my thoughts. If I had a top 3, I'd probably have Logan and Noonan in my top 3 for people I feel like could win this game. This is probably the first time in a long time where I'm like, I don't know what guy I enjoy the most that could get to the end. I mean, Kalen is definitely a good contender. I'll give you that. But the guy for me that I think could do the best is probably Max, in my personal opinion. If I had to plug a guy in there. Paulie too. I just fear that he will get sniped like early merge or something. He's just so likable and so like out there that's like one of those type of people where you hit a merge and you're like, oh, that guy's got to go now type deal.
Right.
So who knows? That's probably where I'm at with this. Who did I pick last year? It was the rugby chick. God, what's her name?
Oh,
She made it the top 5.
Kirby.
Kirby, yeah.
Yeah. Kirby.
That was my pick last year. So hopefully a girl does me well this season. But yeah, those 3 are like I'm excited to watch this season and see what happens with them.
Yeah. Yeah, all good picks. So before we close this out, Doug, do you have anything to plug, social media or anything before we go?
No, nothing for me, guys. Just thank you so much for having me on. I love speaking to you guys. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Need to check out your Lost series, Michael. Guys, I'm going to dive into that. Yeah, always great chatting about this. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming out.
No problem, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you all next week for more Australian Survivor on the Tribe of Nerds.